This is the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA, a weekly recap of your Eagles and news around the NFL. Broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's. Tonight's show is brought to you by Rob's Automotive and Collision, BCWSA, Chickies and Pete's, Begley, Carlin and Mandio Law Firm, Penworth Financial Services, Penn Community Bank, The Capitol Grill, and Ventresca's LTD. We now go live to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report, presented by BCWSA. Now, here are your hosts from Inside the Birds, Adam Caplan and Andrew DiCecco.
Hello, everyone. You're listening to the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM, and also seen live at WBCBsports.com. It's Adam Caplan and Andrew DiCecco from Inside the Birds, and our special guest. Was he number 7?
Yes, very good.
Not Roger Ruzek.
No.
It's Sean Landetta with the single bar helmet there, face mask. There
that's a good memory.
I remember,
Absolutely.
man. Good to see you.
You know, it's amazing. This past January 1st was 20 years to the day of my last game with the Eagles.
Wow.
I remember it was January 1st, 2006, where we played the Redskins the last game, and it was kind of cool because it was the first, so you had the mummers. And our game was at 4 o'clock. So all those guys in their outfits came up and went to the game, and a bunch of us on the sideline periodically would take a peek and look around because there were some magnificent sights of these guys in their outfits just passed out because of all the things they did. It was really great.
January 1st.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been 20 years. The years go by so glad, but I loved the 5 seasons I was here. So grateful that I got them. Well,
Sean, we're glad you joined us at Chicky and Pete's here on Roosevelt Boulevard. It's, we were going to talk right about the game, but the big news of the day is Kevin Patullo is out as offensive coordinator. Obviously, this is going to happen. This is just the way it is. And Sean, I want to ask you a question because you played for the Eagles. You played for a team that is owned by Jeffrey Lurie, and I'm sure that's actually where I'm going with this. Were you aware of the importance that he puts on offense?
When you talk about Jeffrey or
yes,
Patullo?
Jeffrey. No, Jeffrey.
I can say no, that I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I think the world of Jeffrey. I can tell the fans this. I mean, this guy, truthfully, even with everything that he has, constantly thinks of everything he can do to make the Eagles better, probably on a daily basis.
Wow.
Because I've had so many conversations with him through the years, and he is an owner. I believe certainly they all care, but and just in case anybody's wondering, this guy cares so much about this organization in this city. But I didn't know if that is the case, that it was that he had that much input or say in that, because I know through the years the Eagles have had so much success. And, obviously he has a lot of knowledge now. This is, 30 years since he's owned the team. And, you wonder maybe did he have something to say to Sirianni as far as, this move needs to be made, or did Nick go along with it, or was Nick in the position, or was it Howie?
Sure.
We all kind of knew, as you said, it was going to happen. We talked before the show. Sometimes coaches, can take the blame when players don't perform. But that being said, I think there was enough there throughout this year that, unfortunately for Kevin, that this had to happen.
So, Andrew, you're close to the team. You cover it from a daily basis for us at Inside the Bird. So, being in the locker room, being around the club, the fact it was clean out there because they lost, of course, on Sunday at home, unfortunately, to the 49ers. So this came up about Kevin Patullo. What did the players tell you?
Look, all season long, the players have been accountable. They look inward first. They always talk about execution, and I don't think that's by happenstance. They know that there's plays left on the field to be made, and that's not to say that there haven't been shortcomings from Kevin Patullo in terms of sequencing and things like that. I think he's done a nice job with the scripted plays and inside the red zone. He's been really creative. But all season long, the offense has had to labor their way down the field. And with the offense that talented, with that much invested in it, that shouldn't be the case. So obviously something had to happen there. But I always say players first. Players when they win, players first when they lose as well. And there has been a lot of plays on the field that are there to be made. And just look at that 49ers game alone. 3 drops from your star wide receiver. A drop by your all-star running back, Saquon Barkley, had a big one there. That's not on coaching. That's on execution. But I mean, I know I'm cherry picking a little bit, but I think that it's been a collective as to why the offense hasn't fulfilled expectations.
Yeah, I agree, and we talked about it before. You mentioned those drops. Jake Elliott's been a terrific kicker, but if he makes that extra point late in the game, you're kicking the tie, and who knows what happens after that. But again, that's the players having to get it done, but that's all part of football, I guess.
So they're going to be hiring a new offensive coordinator. Now, let's get into this, because the challenge with Jalen Hurts is he likes a certain style of play. We know that it's going to start with a running game with Barkley, but in terms of the pass game, Andrew, Hurts is not a guy that typically will throw the ball inside. So there's certain schemes like old school West Coast offense where people wanted Mike McDaniel. It makes no sense because McDaniel's all about timing, rhythm, tight ends, over the middle. If you watch the Dolphins like although it was painful this year, they weren't very good. But a lot of passes over the middle. Hurts, Sean, since the bye, he's shown a little willingness to throw it over the middle. But I heard Irving Fryer say this. Did you play with Fryer?
No, I played against him a number of years.
What a
player.
Okay. And
what a career
he was
he
with
had.
the Eagles, right.
Yeah.
But he said on local radio last year, this shocked me, because they were talking, and he was talking about Hurts. He goes, well, Hurts doesn't like to throw the ball over the middle, so it makes it tough for us receivers. So I was like, wow, I didn't think a former player would say that. But he's just telling the truth. Andrew, you're there all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you watch the offense over the last number of seasons that he's been a starter. That's been largely absent from the offense. It's certainly not a coordinator saying, let's avoid that area of the field. You always tailor to the strengths of your players, what they're comfortable with, and for whatever reason, that's why they don't do it. And that's why you see a lot of the hitch routes and things of that nature that you hear get often mocked on television and social media. But they're doing it because it's a preference. It's something that Jalen Hurts is very good at. And, I mean, Adam, I was a little curious this year that we didn't see a lot of the bang 8 routes with A.J. Brown.
Quick slant, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are almost automatic, and they have been in the past. So, yeah, it's not by design that they're not avoiding that area of the field.
And that's interesting to hear Irving say that because, coaches in every position in teams, they watch other teams. They chart how often do you do this, do that. And if it's very clear that when we play the Eagles, we know based on their history, they are not going to throw over the middle much, I would think that's got to be a huge advantage to the defense. That's just one less thing we got to worry about. If you look at their last 10 games or last year, say 88% of the time they do this or do that, it's, you would think they'd have a tremendous package because this is the NFL. People make catches over the middle.
Absolutely.
And, Andrew, as well as anyone, because you're at training camp, you've been to them since you worked for us. That ball's going down. Hurts is a deep ball thrower because Sean's talking about predictability. He's great at it.
Very good deep ball thrower.
He's one of the best.
Good at throwing outside the numbers. But I was also really curious when your offense is struggling, you're not establishing much of a rhythm in terms of the passing game. We saw so much, Adam, in the summer, the check downs to the running backs, the wheel routes. There must have been at least 50 to Will Shipley.
Where were they?
Beating everybody, Saquon Barkley even. And when you get to the regular season, it's absent. It's not a part of their offense.
Screen game, Andrew. Where's the screen game?
That's a good way to get your quarterback out of, into a rhythm and alleviate some of that early game pressure. And the Eagles just never tapped into that.
So, Sean, Andrew and I and Jeff Mosher, we were at training camp 2 years ago. And there was one day, in fact, I think I saw you at that training camp. And I think it seemed like DeAndre Swift had like 20 catches in one practice. I'm like, okay, well, Swift is a great receiving back. St. Joe's Prep, by the way, in Philly, where Kevin Stefanski went. But anyway, what happened? And then the regular season, I never happened. I said, I'm done judging what I see, Sean, in training camp because I got fooled.
Yeah, well, obviously anybody would if you saw that and you saw them having success. You'd think at some point you would see it during the season. But that's very interesting. Again, back to what you said before, I'm just thinking here that, they don't throw over the middle very much, whether it's something he doesn't do well, which it's hard to believe because he's an NFL quarterback. I'm sure if he had great plays called, you could do that. But there's no doubt that had to hurt this offense of that lack, of that part of a passing game, and maybe that's part of the deal why he's not here.
So, Andrew, let's look at it this way, right? So you've got Sirianni has run his scheme since he's gotten here, okay? No matter who's been calling the plays, it's his scheme. They have not changed the scheme. Kellen Moore brought some new concepts, but generally overall, it's Sirianni's scheme. I know there's no way to know this, but to me, if you're bringing in someone who's established, not a young person, not a young coach, But if you're bringing someone who's established, they got to be able to make their own run here with their own system.
For the offense to reach its expectations and be able to open things up and maximize the talent, yes. But we thought we were going to see that with Kellen Moore. But I would tell anyone out there, look at Kellen Moore's offense before he got to Philadelphia and after he left Philadelphia, where he's doing more with less with the Saints. It's a stark contrast to what he was running here in Philadelphia, and I think the big difference there is that he had a prolific rushing attack with Saquon Barkley to lean on, and that's why his offense wasn't as heavily scrutinized as the one we just saw.
You know, what's interesting, too, is Patullo's been here for, 5 years?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So he's been around a lot of success. He's been to a couple Super Bowls. I mean, he is, very aware of everything that was going on here before, plays that were being called, and I think that had a lot to do with why Sirianni wanted him and elevated him, because he's been right here and he felt he was able to take over for it. And it's just, interesting that if you've been here all these years and seen all the success and the growth, that the problems that they had this year would happen. That's the part that kind of surprises me a little bit.
So, Sean, and here's the thing. He's also worked but even before this season, he's worked very closely with Hurts because he's part of the game planning. He was also at one point the passing game coordinator. So you would think that he knew what Hurts liked and didn't like. But, Andrew, again, it just never seemed. You were talking about the sequencing. You're trying to get a rhythm to what you do.
Yeah, set things up early in the game to counter. To have the defense thinking one thing, you counter them with something else. There just wasn't that feel, that rhythm to the offense all season.
And that's to me, Sean, why the new guy, let him run his own system. It's just Nick just signed a contract extension. Right? He just won a Super Bowl last year. He shouldn't be coaching for his job. Just let the reins go. Get the offensive coordinator to run his own system. And then Jalen, I know this is a tough thing to say, but Jalen's just got to go along with it. I know that he's had a lot of change. I think it's like this will be his 11th coordinator?
Yeah, 6th or 7th since being an Eagle starting quarterback.
Going back to high school with his father, this is 11 coordinators?
Wow.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
But like 6 or 7 in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
This will be his 7th.
7th, wow.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you would think whoever they would bring in would be somebody that whatever their philosophy is his strength, and be able to work with him because he's so talented, and this team is right there. I mean, if they went back to the Super Bowl next year or had an opportunity, it wouldn't surprise me because their team is so deep. I mean, we're all so surprised they got knocked out of the playoffs, but I'm interested to see who they bring in. Do they bring in an offensive coordinator maybe that was an NFL head coach? Because there's going to be a few of those guys out there, I think, guys that were NFL head coaches that maybe not get a NFL coaching job.
Like Kevin Stefanski, if they don't get one.
Or Dayball or McDaniel.
Sure.
I know you mentioned him before, but there'll be some terrific guys out there, I think, available.
The guy that I like, Jeff Mosher brought it up to me yesterday, I think it's a perfect fit is Todd Monken because he's with the Ravens. Still under contract, I believe, but obviously they had a head coaching change. Monken could run any kind of scheme you want because he's done 11 personnel, 12, 10, which is 4 receivers. They also do a lot of 13 because they have 3 tight ends. Charlie Coller's their third. He's a pretty good tight end out of Iowa State.
Sure is.
Sean? So I like the diversity of personnel groupings. That, to me, would be a perfect fit. And heck, Lamar Jackson's been an MVP under Todd Monken. It's pretty good. And also, you just mentioned guys, head coaching. Could they not get someone who wants to be a head coach again?
For continuity purposes?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I was shocked this season that there wasn't sort of a senior consultant or anybody like that. Yeah,
senior offensive assistant.
Just to oversee it. They had a really young coaching staff. So Parks Frazier is about 35 years old. He had just a little bit of experience calling plays with the Colts. They didn't really have anybody obvious that Patullo could lean to and be that used as a sounding board like he was for Kellen Moore last season.
All right, before we take a break, what you just said is important because after the Buffalo game, okay, because they were talking about getting plays in and timing and everything, and Nick was asked about something that happened and what happened the second half, why they didn't score any points, why didn't Jalen have complete a pass in the second half, and he goes, hey, I have to help Kevin. And then a reporter asked a follow-up question, Sean, about it, and he goes, well, look, it's kind of tough when I'm trying to coach the team, and that's when I'm like, that's the perfect reason to have a senior offensive assistant.
Yeah, I mean, to make that statement.
If you
make that statement, basically, what are you
just
saying?
admitted it. Thank you, because I seem to be the only one in this market that picked that up. I'm like, you're admitting you need a senior offensive assistant. That's exactly what that would do, Andrew.
Yeah, I even said that before the season. Looking at the coaching staff, I was like, man, for a first-year play caller, it's really, there's nobody else for him to turn to if he needs some help, if he has some ideas that he wants to kick around and bounce off some of those guys. I mean, you have Jeff Stoutland, the run game coordinator. You have Jason Michael, the tight end coach, who was an OC with the Tennessee Titans, I believe, in 2014 or 2015. But aside from that, they really didn't have anybody.
No, it's true. All right, everyone, you're listening to the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM, and also seen live at WBCBsports.com. We'll be right back.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Bring your party to Chicky and Pete's. We can handle groups of all sizes at our locations across the Delaware Valley. Big parties, small parties, company parties, family parties, get-togethers with friends. Order off the menu or our special catering options. We can do it all, including coming to your home or office or special Play 2 party packages at our South Philly location. Book your party today. Hurry, the space is limited. Visit chickyandpete's.com for details. Chicky and Pete's is official caterer of the Philadelphia Eagles Touchdown Club and a proud partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
At Penn Community Bank, we're in the business of building thriving communities. That means breaking down the barriers to home ownership, supporting fair, affordable access to housing from Philadelphia to the Lehigh Valley, like our Home Opportunity Mortgage that empowers eligible borrowers with no minimum credit score, no down payment, access to grant programs, and so much more. Visit PennCommunityBank.com/home for more details. Penn Community Bank. Here we grow. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender. Account and feature terms, restrictions, and conditions apply.
Hey BCWSA customers, this is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. My friends at BCWSA are committed to providing us with safe, reliable water and sewer services. They operate state-of-the-art treatment facilities, provide clean drinking water, and make much-needed investments to protect our environment and ensure a sustainable future. Learn how BCWSA's investments help grow and serve our communities. Visit bcwsa.net. BCWSA, proven.
Your day-to-day life is hectic between having to pick up the kids, make dinner, the countless other tasks that you got to get done. Rob's Automotive and Collision is there to make your life a whole lot easier. Make sure you take advantage of their spacious waiting rooms, the large flat-screen TVs, complimentary coffee and muffins, and free Wi-Fi. So even when you do have to stop, Rob's is there to make you feel right at home. Give Rob's a call today at 215-826-9200 for any of your auto repair needs.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here are your hosts from Inside the Birds, Adam Caplan and Andrew DiCecco.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM, and also seen live at WBCBsports.com. It's Adam Caplan and Andrew DiCecco from Inside the Birds, and the great Sean Landetta. Sean, good to see you again.
So great to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for coming in. Yeah, thank you for coming here at Roosevelt Boulevard here. We're here till 7 p.m. All right, guys. All right, so we talked about Kevin Petula. He's out, and what to look for next. Now, we got to talk about the game. I'll admit it, Sean. I thought there was no way that they're losing to the beat-up San Francisco 49ers. I'm still kind of in shock. Sean, did you think confidently that they'd win that game?
I absolutely did, and for the reason you said. You know, it's interesting. There's reasons and excuses.
Sure.
A reason is something that's true. An excuse is not. So the fact that the 49ers had so many guys missing, that is a legitimate reason as to why you don't think they'll be as good. No team is going to be as good. Doesn't mean they won't be good, but not as good if you don't have all those guys. And on top of it, you lose Kittle. Would he get lost in the second quarter?
Second quarter.
Of that game?
Torn Achilles, terrible.
I mean, so surprising. I mean, 10 years down the road, you might have a few of those guys sitting around looking at each other say, you know what? I mean, it could happen. Can you believe we went in and beaten that Eagles team, the defending world champs, at their place, and we had 13 guys on IR and lost Kittle in the second quarter?
Yeah.
I was very surprised.
They win the turnover battle. Saquon Barkley rushes for 106 yards. George Kittle leaves the game, and they still lose. You can't make this up.
And they scored 27 points.
Oh, that was Sean.
They didn't score 10 or 13. I think
23. Yeah,
23. I'm sorry. You know, if you ask the computer, how many teams win an NFL game when you score 23 points? Might be about 70%.
Sean, Brock Purdy was phenomenal. I know, look, both picks, one was clearly on him. He turned his body, which you can't do. In fact, Greg Cosell, you know Greg.
Sure, absolutely.
So Greg told me that one of them would have been a big play to Juwan Jennings over the middle, probably been for 40 yards, but he, for some reason, didn't go to him, and he turned his body and threw it to Q. But, Andrew, let's get to you in this thing. Were you confident, like I was, there's really no way the Eagles will lose this game?
Yeah, I was really confident, especially when they're down to their 4th and 5th linebackers or whatever the case was. But then
they were down 4 linebackers.
But then you saw the 49ers come out with a confidence, right? They attacked Quinyon Mitchell on the second play of the game. It was 61 yards to DeMarcus Robinson. They go 4 plays later again at Quinyon Mitchell for the touchdown. They seemed to enter that game with a chip on their shoulder, like they wanted to go in there and really prove something. And I thought Kyle Shanahan did a tremendous job in terms of play calling, schematically, and all those things, and really took it to the Philadelphia Eagles. And, Adam, I got to say, I thought the middle of the field for the Eagles defense got exploited.
Big time. How about that?
Big time. And I also thought they took advantage of the safety play. I was wondering which team was going to be able to do that, but I thought that Reed Blankenship and Marcus Epps didn't have particularly strong games.
Yeah, that happens, unfortunately. At the end of every year as a player, you're going to have games. You want to play great every game. It's not going to happen. You'll have games that, for whatever reason, these days you played great. And there'll be a couple where you didn't play that great. And obviously, you don't want one of those to be in a playoff game. And that happens sometimes. It's that perfect storm the other way. You mentioned Robinson. I mean, God bless him. He looked like Jerry Rice out there. What do you have, 7, 8 catches?
For 111 yards.
Yeah.
His third 100-yard game, and only his third.
And that big play, again, mentally, what that does for a team, that 61-yard play right off the bat. Wow.
Andrew, you know what's crazy? The Eagles finished the season, including the playoffs, at 5-4, okay, at home. That is hard to believe at the Link.
Yeah.
I would not have guessed that.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't great. One game over 500 surprised me, but still unpacking this game, even as poorly as they played overall, they still had the lead late in the game. And then they lost it, and then you saw the final play. But what was – okay, let's take an overview, because as we look at this season for both of you, because you watched all the games, what was missing from this football team?
Explosive plays. A dynamic rushing attack. I mean, foundationally, we all know that that's what they want to do, and it was a grind. It was tough sledding in terms of the running game. They weren't able to get that going, and that put a spotlight on everything else. But defensively, you can't really ask for anything more than that. I thought that they did a really good job, oftentimes carrying and picking up the tab for an offense that wasn't reaching expectations, and that was a game where they needed the offense to be able to help them out, and they weren't able to do it. So it's just been something that has been a prevailing theme all season.
Yeah, I kind of agree. When you look back to last year, every year is different. But besides Barkley, the way Hurts ran the ball last year was much different than when he ran this year.
Not really running it this past season.
Yeah, and that is such a difference maker. When I understand you want to have too many called runs, the injury factor, but his ability to run is so great. And, you mentioned the defense. I mean, when they went up there and held Buffalo to 6 points, I want to know how many times in the last 7-8 years in Buffalo, Josh Allen offense has been held to 6 points. I mean, their defense, I think, was good enough to get it done this year. I really do. We'll never know, but I think they were.
Sean brings up an interesting point about the running game. When Jalen Hurts calls himself a triple threat, I believe it was in 2023, he mentioned his arm, his legs, and his mind. Well, when you take away the running aspect, you are severely depriving the offense of a component that makes them special. And
it's very well said.
Also being that +1 in the running game unlocks the rushing attack as well. So I think to Sean's point, that was something that was really glaring when you look back on the season.
You want to hear something crazy about DeMarcus Robinson? He was not even on the roster week 1. He was actually suspended for 3 games. I mean, Ricky Pearsall, who's their first-round pick last year, didn't play. He's got the PCL sprain. I'm just looking at this roster and you talked about excuses, okay? Hey, you can't find any. But as a player, okay, let me ask you this question. Do you remember leading up to a game where coaches seemed overconfident, your head coach? I
can't say I have. Most of the coaches I had really, if anything, were like, hey, I know this team's 1-8, but 5 of their losses are by 4 points or less. I mean, you've got to go out and execute. I think all the coaches I played for did a great job of that, but that doesn't mean that collectively the players can't be
There you go.
in that
Right.
frame of mind. And of course, no player's ever going to admit that, but it could be human nature,
Right.
you know, that you look, you know, the guy you're playing against, he's hurt, and his backup's hurt, and maybe human nature, it's like, oh, I'm playing against their third stringer, I'm going to be okay. Maybe you might not be okay. I mean, again, who knows?
Andrew, leading up to the game in the locker room last week, what did you sense from the players leading up, confidence level?
Oh, they were upbeat. I would say that Thursday's locker room was probably the loudest, most jovial that I can recall this season. And they were a team that it felt like they were ready for the moment. They've been there before. They knew that their preparation was in order, and they were ready to go play this game. And, I mean, I went into it, you know, coupled with the fact that the 49ers are banged up, knowing how the dynamic was with the team and how the energy was really positive. You got the sense they were going to go out there. I'm not saying put up 27 points, but they were going to take it to the 49ers, and that obviously didn't happen.
Yeah, very surprising. Again, they scored enough points to win the game, but just again the opportunities, so many that were missed, and you know the 49ers, some of the plays they made. I mean, you know, Purdy's a good quarterback, but wow! And again, McCaffrey, he was exceptional.
In the pass game, right? They shut him down the run game. By the way, this segment is supposed to be our injury review, brought to you by the attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio. Contact them today for free consultation at 215-806-3689. That's 215-806-3689. Well, Andrew, the big injury, Lane Johnson, out. He wound up missing 2 months of play, and Fred Johnson did a yeoman's job, but this Frank injury is a serious deal.
Yeah, it's a serious injury, and he was listed as limited Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Obviously, would like to have seen a full participant designation on Friday, so it left it up in the air, and it seemed increasingly unlikely. Fred Johnson, after the game, said that it wasn't until Saturday that he realized that he got word that he would be starting in that game.
Oh, he did find out then.
He found out on Saturday.
So so basically, did you see Lane warm up? I don't
no,
think
he wasn't.
Was there.
That's the other thing. So I was on Lane.
Warmed up,
I was on Lane
understand.
Johnson watch, watching pregame, and he wasn't out there. You started to see the starting offensive lineman come out there. Then you saw Fred Johnson go out there and start to take combo block reps beside Tyler Steen, and you're like, oh, well, Lane's
Something's
not.
odd about that because I was told he did very limited work, but looked good in what they asked him to do, whatever he could do. So maybe he woke up, you know, because Saturday's a walkthrough day, Sean. You could wake up and go, man, my foot's whatever. It's a right midfoot sprain, which is a serious injury. So maybe he just felt he couldn't go, and they knew that. So they probably knew after the walkthrough. That's when you're saying that Fred said that. He told the reporters in the locker room.
Yeah.
And he kind of find out Saturday. Wow.
And you never know. I mean, sometimes you have a setback late in the week. You know, Wednesday, okay, it's a little better. Thursday, better. Oh, Friday, it's coming along. Maybe you push it a little bit, and you wake up Saturday, oh, man, this is back to Tuesday again. Doesn't always happen, but that could have happened.
For you as a punter, do you participate in the walkthrough?
Yes. We're all there because they go through every special teams playing the walkthrough.
Wow. Okay.
You know, it's almost like a game. You know, first down, second down, third down.
Situationally.
Punt team.
Sure.
You know, going to punt this way, that way. If you have a fake, and it's interesting, you know, with Andy loved to do fakes, but you had to do it perfect Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. If the littlest insignificant thing wasn't right, he wouldn't run it. Be like, Andy, everything's perfect. That was a little nothing thing. No. It's got to be perfect. But, yeah, we go out there and we go through, you know, punt return, kickoff return, you know, everything with everyone else.
You know, that makes me laugh, Sean, because when the Eagles practiced the Philly special leading up to the Super Bowl in 2017, they screwed it up so much. Frank Reich said, we're done. We're not doing it anymore. I don't know. John T. Flippo told me this because I was like, what? He's like, dude, you don't know the whole story. Because I know the players have talked about it. I've talked to Zach Ertz about it many years ago. But it isn't remarkable on that play, that Philly special play, how perfect it was. The execution was absurd.
It was, and that's so surprising to me to hear because with Andy, I know on the special teams plays, maybe it was different than offense. But, man, if it wasn't perfect, you know, and a lot of times it was perfect, and most of the time it did work when we did.
Was Harbs your coach?
Yes, he was here the 5 years I was here. Wow. I really enjoyed working with him. I think he's a terrific coach, you know, the way he communicates with people and, you know, he's very cerebral, knows the game, and doesn't surprise me one bit he's had the success he's had.
This might make you laugh, and I'm kind of a special teams junkie. Were your gunners Rashard Cook and Damian Douglas?
Yes, and that's saying
that's
something.
Insane.
Now you're going back to '99.
He's only like 35 or 36.
25 years. That's 25 years ago, and both of them were outstanding. Damian was here first 4 years with me, and he was from Cal. Yeah, they were both, because I know we were a little disappointed because they released a guy who was a gunner the year before for a couple years, who was great. I think he went to Carolina. I forget who it was. Might have been a receiver, but we were just like, oh man, he was so good. But they had to do that, and but that's a great memory. Only real people who understand the Eagles. Will remember. And Rashard, he was a good player.
Number 40.
He was a good defensive back.
Might have been 42. I don't remember.
Yes, very good.
I should know that.
He's going back 25 years.
He's coaching out in California.
Who is that right? Rashard?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I spoke to him about Jim
Did
Johnson.
you?
Oh, that's so awesome.
That's so great.
That's great to hear.
Did he play on D at all, or was he just special teams?
He played. He
Yeah,
played
he
on
did.
Have
defense.
good size.
Yeah.
Don't remember.
He's like a pretty thick.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's how
very well built
He
guy.
got a sack in the the Chicago playoff game.
Sean, here's the thing. Growing up, because I shocked, I think it was Jim Fawnhorst, who was a left tackle for the Niners.
I remember Jim.
So what happened is, as a kid, Andrew, I learned players by number first, not name. Now I can't keep track because they're allowed to have any number. I don't know who's. I literally, I know Ringo. Is Ringo 7?
He's 7, yeah.
But I know Hertz is 1. I know AJ's 11. But like growing up in Philly, I could do the Flyers. Bernie was 1. I could go through 35. I can't keep track.
Well,
Andrew.
sports today are so transient.
Yeah, exactly.
Before 1993, we had no free agency in the NFL, so we were crushed as far as what we could get compensation-wise, but we stayed in the same place for a long time.
That's true.
And there's a lot to be said for that, because the community got to know you, people got to know you, they knew who you were there, you know them, and that's something that's missed. Most of these guys today miss that, and that was a great thing.
That's why I knew you were number 7.
Yeah, I was 5 years. I wore number 7.
And did you wear 5 for the Giants?
I did wear 5 for almost 10 years there. So that's like 15 years. Continuity.
That's right. That's right. All right, guys. That was the injury review brought to you by the attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio. Contact them today for a free consultation at 215-806-389. That's 215-806-3689. You're listening to the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM, and also seen live at WBCBsports.com. We'll be right back.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Come join us for happy hour weekdays from 4 to 6. Enjoy half-price orders of Chicky's wings, delicious pizzas, scrumptious hot, cold, or fried shrimp, jumbo soft pretzel with a trio of tasty dips, plus $3 domestic bottles, $6 Tito's, and $6 seltzers. Come join our happy hour weekdays 4 to 6. Come taste and enjoy. Only at Chicky's and Pete's.
Think banking hasn't changed? Think again. At Penn Community Bank, we've been helping communities thrive for 150 years. From our nationally recognized Access Checking that offers the peace of mind of no overdrafts, to student and free Checking Plus options with perks that will make you wonder what you did without them, like early direct deposit, overdraft grace, and Zelle. Learn more at PennCommunityBank.com/products. Penn Community Bank. Here we grow. Account and feature terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. Ask for full details. Member FDIC.
This is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. Every champion needs a good game plan. BCWSA and I want to make sure you have a game plan when it comes to conserving our most precious resource, water. Whether you're washing dishes, brushing your teeth, or watering your garden, there are ways you can save water and save money. Visit bcwsa.net for tips on conserving water. BCWSA, proven.
Rob's Automotive and Collision Center in Lower Bucks County is a full-service repair center with competitive prices, top-of-the-line products, and the finest auto body and mechanical repair technicians anywhere. Rob's makes repairing your car easy. Same-day service guaranteed. Whether it's an oil change, state inspection, or a mechanical issue, Rob's will have you in and out and on your way. 2700 Veterans Highway in Bristol, 215-826-9200 for 24-hour emergency towing. Call 215-826-0250.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here are your hosts from Inside the Birds, Adam Caplan and Andrew DiCecco.
All right, everyone, you're listening to the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM, and also seen live at WBCBsports.com. It's Adam Caplan and Andrew DiCecco from Inside the Birds, and Eagle great, Sean Landetta, number 7 when he was with the Eagles. Both times?
Both times.
Nice. Oh, you know what? Now, actually, here's a question. Jaws is 7. Do you have to ask permission?
Well, I'll tell you
I don't know this story. Go ahead.
No, funny story about my number. So I didn't have to, but just out of respect, I asked Ron, I said, are you okay with me marrying? He said, absolutely. You didn't have to ask, but so nice that you did. So I'm in Green Bay in 98. I'm going to go back. Coaching staff leaves. They all go to Seattle. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm an older player. Out of nowhere, the Eagles hire Andy. He was our quarterback coach. And you talk about an oh, by the way, I'm in L.A. on vacation. You know what? Give Andy a call. Just say congrats. Andy, congrats on the job. How you doing? He says, what are you doing? I'm not sure. He said the greatest words ever. Would you be interested in competing for the job in Philly? I mean, I almost jumped through the phone because I grew up in Baltimore. I played here in the USFL, and I lived in New York. I mean, I still had to make the team, but he'd seen me practice every day, and I was still playing well. So we come to the first mini camp, and I'm going to wear number 5. So I wear 5 first mini camp before the draft. Thursday night before the draft, Andy calls and he's like, hey, quick question. You wore number 5 in minicamp, right? I said, yeah. He goes, would you be up to wearing another number, possibly? I said, yeah, that's fine, Andy. And he goes, okay, because, I want to draft a kid, and he really wants number 5. So right there.
He already knew it?
I knew who they were going to draft.
McNabb, yeah.
And I remember I said, you know what, Andy? That's no problem. And it turned out to be true. I said, that kid's probably going to be here 10 years, and I hope he does well. And if that's important to him,
that's crazy.
No worries.
That's awesome.
And I kind of felt bad after the second part. He goes, what else have you worn? I said, I've worn 5 and 7. And he goes, okay, we'll see if 7 becomes available. I said, okay, no problem. And that was it. Then a little later, I thought to myself, I wonder if there's a 7 on the team. And I looked up, and it was Bobby Hoying.
Oh, yeah.
And right away,
99.
my first thought was, when he said, well, maybe that could be available, I'm like, does that mean Bobby's not going to be
Exactly.
here?
He gave me a
I
hint.
don't know.
That's really good.
But Don, and I told him that story with his father after his career, and his eyes got big.
Donovan?
I said, Donovan, I could have charged you $10,000 like other veterans do. And I just didn't feel good. I said, you know what I'd like? He said, what? I said, can you buy me a vanilla milkshake? I said, no problem. I still haven't got
vanilla. I like that.
Vanilla
I like
milkshake.
That, yeah.
I'm still waiting for
chip,
it. But anyway, the reason McNabb wore 5, because Andy said, look, you're the veteran with the most experience. You don't have to do this. I said, I understand if it's that big a deal. So that's how Donovan got number 5.
How about that?
That's a great story.
So much to unpack, dude. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. By the way, this segment is sponsored by our friends at Penworth Financial. Call them today at 267-997-4503 or visit them at penworth.com. So, Sean, you brought up before this last break, hey, Eagles have a lot of free agents. Well, guess what? They do. And we're going to get started. So here we're going to go over all of them, but obviously there's some key ones. We'll go over the guys quickly that probably won't be here.
Can I ask how many free agents we have?
I'm going to have, I think, about roughly 20.
20?
Now, you got to understand, a lot of guys on one-year deals, okay?
But still, 20
Sam
guys.
Howell, they made the trade.
That's a lot.
Yep. A.J. Dillon was on a one-year deal. Jahan Dotson's contract is expiring. Dallas Goedert resigned for a one-year deal. Colin Granson was on a one-year deal. Fred Johnson was on a one-year deal. Brett Toth's contract expired. Matt Pryor was on a one-year deal. Jalen Phillips is on an expiring contract. Josh Uche on a one-year deal. Obo Okonkwo, who suffered a major injury, is on a one-year deal. Brandon Graham, of course, is on a one-year deal. N'Kobe's contract, Dean's contract is expiring. Zizo Jalari, 1 year, $4 million. His contract expiring. Adoree Jackson, he signed a 1 year. This might set a Howie record for 1 year deals. Marcus Epps, 1 year deal, and Reed Blankenship right now will have his contract expire. Excuse me. It's a lot.
Yeah, there's
Braden
quite a
Mann.
few.
I'm sorry, Braden Mann.
Yeah, you can't forget Braden Mann.
No.
Yeah, there's a lot of expiring contracts.
Wow.
You mentioned Sam Howell. I'm looking at your list here. I would try to find a way to bring him back, depending on what you're able to do with McKee, to have someone like Sam Howell.
Well, if they're going to trade him, obviously,
if they're able to move off of McKee and trade him, it would make sense to have someone there like a Sam Howell to be the number 2.
Sure.
But then the big question becomes Nakobe Dean, Reed Blankenship, Jalen Phillips. I mean, Nakobe Dean is the heartbeat of the Eagles' defense. That being said, the Eagles drafted Jahad Campbell in the first round for a reason. It's a luxury to have 3 starting caliber linebackers, not a necessity. So it's hard for me to envision Nakobe Dean coming back. Reed Blankenship didn't have a particularly good season from a coverage standpoint, but Vic Fangio really likes him. He's smart. He's always in the right spot, and that goes a long way when you consider the fact that safeties and linebackers have a considerable responsibility in a Vic Fangio defense. Still, though, I think you could stand to get a little bit more athletic on the back end, pair somebody with Drew Makuba, and that's kind of the way that I'm seeing that.
Well, speaking of that, the big question is, where does Cooper DeJean play next year? Is he a nickel?
Yeah,
is he a safety?
I think he's a nickel, and he mentioned that during cleanout that he really likes playing there. He goes, I'll do whatever they need me to do. But
That's the point,
He
though.
said he likes being involved with the run and things like that. And Vic Fangio, most importantly, likes having him there for all those reasons.
Because there was a discussion around the league when DeJean was drafted, because he was strictly a corner at Iowa. Would he be a good corner at the NFL level? Because one of the reasons why he was not a first-round pick is clubs were unsure because he's a great athlete. Where do you line him up? Corner, safety, or nickel? And Vic Fangio's weight carries a lot. You actually were with Vic with the Stars in '85, so and when he was in his 20s, crazy. But when you look at it, Vic is a genius. I don't know if you knew it then in his 20s.
Well, we couldn't know it then.
Yeah,
I mean,
course,
actually,
sure.
1983.
I'm sorry, 83.
He was there 83,
yeah.
43 years ago. He was kind of an assistant helping out, and nobody could know he was going to be. But, boy, he was around great coaches, and what a career he's had.
Jim Johnson, you were around him a little bit?
Yes,
What
loved
did you
Jim.
think?
The 5 years I was here.
What did you think?
Oh, Jim Johnson. It's interesting. I tell people there's never been – you look at a head coaching a coaching photo of an NFL team.
Oh, yeah.
8 guys off of that coaching staff between 99 and like 05 became head coaches. There's never been 8 guys off one staff become head coaches. And the one guy who wasn't was the most coveted. That was Jim Johnson. Jim told me personally he turned down the 49er job. I was having lunch with him one time in there, and, he was coveted, and he interviewed with the 49ers, and it just didn't work out. But he could have been a head coach.
Wow.
There's no doubt. And can you imagine 9 guys? Sean McDermott was an assistant D-back coach. Les Frazier was our D-back coach. Spagnuolo was our assistant D-back coach.
Ron Rivera
was our linebacker coach. Shermer was our tight end coach. My coach, John Harbaugh. Brad Childress was our offensive coordinator. Receivers coach, David Culley.
I got one more for you.
Okay.
Who would come in at maybe – I think were you there with Ron Rivera?
Yes. Yeah, I think
became
we
a head
mentioned,
coach?
No,
Yeah.
we mentioned
Oh,
him.
you did mention
I
Ron.
think I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
named the 8
Gotcha. It's
assistants.
insane.
And that doesn't count Jim.
Crazy.
Who was the most coveted
Right,
guy.
sure.
Wow. Think about that.
Wow.
And this is when coaches only had 14 guys. Now there's 25 coaches.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, is that crazy?
That's insane.
Go back and look at one of those coaching pictures back then, and it's just unbelievable how many
That's
became
insane.
head coaches.
So this one's interesting. Dallas Goedert had obviously a career. He was great. He's now 31 years old. They have no one to replace him. Okay, no one. No one on the roster could replace him. Andrew, to me, I think you take the same approach with him. If he's willing to do a 1-year deal for like $10 million, now I know the Eagles have a bunch of guys that could extend. Tyler Steen's not going to get. He's eligible to get his contract extended, but that's not going to get done. Ojomo, Carter, Jordan Davis, and Nolan Smith. I don't see Nolan Smith getting extended, but getting back to Dallas Goedert, he had a great year, and we'll see what the new OC does with whoever the tight end is, but. Wouldn't you consider bringing Goddard back?
Yeah, I wouldn't even think twice about it. I would, if it's a modest deal and it works out, you bring him back on a 1-year deal. You draft a tight end, ideally, in the second or third round to develop and learn under him, and then take the reins when Dallas Goedert eventually moves on. But it's hard to envision a team being willing to throw the bag at Dallas Goedert at 31 years old. But I will say that watching him in the post-game locker room, he had tears in his eyes.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Yeah, and Jordan Mailata said that he didn't start crying until he saw Dallas Goedert because they played together for 8 years. And you never know if it's going to be the last time you play with somebody, and that's the human aspect that I think gets lost in this. But Yeah, I would. If I'm the Eagles, I'm bringing him back.
What a run on tight ends, right? Brent Selleck, Zach Ertz, and now Dallas Goedert. I mean, that's 20 years of really good tight ends.
Sean, when you would, let's say your contract was up, right? And it was the last game to see whether it was a playoffs or regular season. Would you say your goodbyes, hey, guys, I may not see you again?
I would never say that. I think about it. You kind of look around and you think, this is reality. This guy right here next to me for the last 4 years, see him every day. I may never see him again.
Yeah,
if I end up signing in Phoenix and he goes somewhere else.
Who was your locker neighbor?
Who was it? Well, it was numerical. So it was Akers was 2, I think, over at the vet.
Yep.
Akers, McNabb, me, Coy Detmer, A.J. Feely. It was like 5 or 6. Then a break.
Feely was 14, I think. Yeah.
Feely 14,
Yes,
probably.
I remember,
Yeah. So that's how they did it there. And then when we moved over to the NovaCare Center, it was similar, but there were more lockers together. But usually it was always the punters and kickers.
All right. We appreciate Penworth Financial sponsoring this segment. Call them today, 267-997-4503, or visit them at penworth.com. You are listening and watching the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM, and also seen live at WBCBsports.com. We will be right back.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's, the official sports bar of your world champion Philadelphia Eagles. Go where the players go. Come join us all season for Eagles pep rallies, watch parties, and the best in-game experience anywhere. Ice-cold draft beer, world-famous food, and fan-friendly fun for every Eagles game. Every Monday night in South Philly, the Jordan Mailata Show, presented by Miller Lite, followed by Chicky and Pete's Players Lounge with a current player, hosted by Ike Reese and Hugh Douglas. Go where the players go. Chickies and Pete's.
At Penn Community Bank, we're in the business of building thriving communities. That means breaking down the barriers to home ownership, supporting fair, affordable access to housing from Philadelphia to the Lehigh Valley, like our Home Opportunity Mortgage that empowers eligible borrowers with no minimum credit score, no down payment, access to grant programs, and so much more. Visit PennCommunityBank.com/home for more details. Penn Community Bank. Here we grow. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender. Account and feature terms, restrictions, and conditions apply.
When an Eagles player gets hurt, the team takes care of him. When you get hurt, the attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio will take care of you. They understand that a severe accident can be a life-altering event. You need a reliable teammate to fight for you. The attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio will get you great results. And if there's no recovery, there's no fee. Contact them today at 215-750-0110 for a free consultation. 215-750-0110 for a reliable ally that's on your side.
Hey BCWSA customers, this is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. My friends at BCWSA are committed to providing us with safe, reliable water and sewer services. They operate state-of-the-art treatment facilities, provide clean drinking water, and make much-needed investments to protect our environment and ensure a sustainable future. Learn how BCWSA's investments help grow and serve our communities. Visit bcwsa.net. BCWSA, proven.
Your day-to-day life is hectic between having to pick up the kids, make dinner, the countless other tasks that you got to get done. Rob's Automotive and Collision is there to make your life a whole lot easier. Make sure you take advantage of their spacious waiting rooms, the large flat-screen TVs, complimentary coffee and muffins, and free Wi-Fi. So even when you do have to stop, Rob's is there to make you feel right at home. Give Rob's a call today at 215-826-9200 for any of your auto repair needs.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here are your hosts from Inside the Birds, Adam Caplan and Andrew DiCecco.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM, and also seen live at WBCBsports.com. It's Adam Caplan and Andrew DiCecco from Inside the Birds, and our good friend Sean Landetta, former Eagles punter, who should be in the Hall of Fame, by the way.
Well, thank you. Maybe one day. I've been on the.
I don't know how you're not. You're in every other. You've been voted everything.
Yeah,
well deserved.
Well,
when that
thank
day
you
comes.
for saying
Awesome.
that. I've been on the ballot the last 13 years, so maybe the old timers. We'll see. But it's just nice to be nice to be on there.
I'll be there. I'll be there when that day happens.
If
You know
that
what?
happens,
I'm going.
You guys will be there VIP if I go in.
I
I'm
appreciate
telling you
that.
right now.
Wow.
Andrew,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I went when I worked at ESPN. I worked with Jerome Bettis and Bill Polian. I'd never been there. I was like, I drove there. I was like, I'll drive. I got to go because I knew Bill better than I knew Bus. But Jerome is the nicest guy in the world. And Bill just learned to be able to sit in a production meeting with this guy. It was just like, is this really happening?
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
No, it's really cool. But all right, guys. So this is our last segment here, and we've talked about the game. Also, we should mention again Kevin Patullo being replaced as offensive coordinator. It's always fascinating with the Eagles because even when they make the playoffs, they make changes. And Sean, this is one of the things I appreciate with Jeffrey Lurie. I'm sorry that Kevin Patullo lost his job, but it's the demanding of excellence. And to start the show, I asked you about if you knew what really the word around coaches who have worked in that building is. You better have a world-class offense. There's pressure. But Howie does a great job of getting players, but you got to win with them, and that's the name of the game.
Well, there's no question. You look at those players on that offense. I mean, the way they're paid, the quality of those players, it absolutely is good enough to win a Super Bowl. We saw that last year, and if he wants offense, he's gotten it. Howie's done a great job, and for the most part, the players have played well. Now, we talked before, sometimes you don't have a good game at the worst time. You saw what happened with Brown the other day, but they've got offensive players. I mean, they'll re-sign who they feel. They'll draft. They'll probably get a few free agents. But, I feel with the quarterback, and the pieces they have in place, this offense looks good for a while. I know things change year to year, but,
sure.
Jalen, he's still young. As much of a
27,
veteran
right?
is, he's not 31 or 32.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's still coming into his prime as great as he's been. But it'll be interesting to see what they do offensive-wise, especially for the fact, like you said, Jeffrey, he really – cherishes that.
Andrew, where is this team right now? Is this good, very good, needs a lot? Like, where do you see this team right now?
I mean, it's a good football team, but philosophically, they're going to have to change some things if they want the offense to be able to match the talent that they have. Defensively, you're going to have to start making some decisions and signing some of these players because, as we just looked at, there's some difficult young players who you need to be able to retain. But I think this is a good football team, and as long as Nick Sirianni's there and the leadership, Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, and Jalen Hurts is the quarterback, I think they're going to be just fine.
Yeah, to me, it's a good mixture of some veterans and young talent, but they got to get on the same page with their offense. We know it's going to go through the run game. We get that. But they're going to have to find, Sean, a coordinator who's going to want to not only coach Hurts. Obviously, if you're coming here, you know you're coaching him, but it's got to figure out how to get the best of them. And that has not been able to happen since 22. And then, quite frankly, the league, Andrew and Sean, once they saw what the Eagles were trying to do with the deep passing game, ever since then, they basically don't get consistently deep with the passing game anymore for whatever reason.
And that's surprising because you look at their two receivers; they're terrific.
I know.
And as you said, we all know Hurts throws a great deep ball. I mean, that's got to come back very quickly. I would think this would be a very coveted. I mean, if I'm an offensive coordinator, not many places I'd want to come more than this with my quarterback, that running back, and those receivers. And knowing that they want to throw the ball. I mean, they should be able to attract a top-notch or maybe the best coordinator out there.
And if they do well, they're likely to be considered
Kellen
for a
Moore.
head coach.
Very quickly. But, geez, again, any coach, you want to come in a situation where your players are terrific. How many teams out of 32 in this league, the running back, the quarterback, and the two receivers, maybe you can only equal is what the Eagles put out there.
Andrew, my one concern on offense, other than getting Hurts back or trying to get him to improve.
The offensive line.
You got it.
I knew you were going there.
Because I just – and, Andrew, you and I have talked about this on our show here at Pro Football Report many times. We didn't see this coming. Their regression was major. It wasn't slight. It was significant. Now, let's go left to right. Jordan Mailata, as I've heard, and I think Jeff said he kind of confirmed this, he felt just beat up. He just was sore,
he said
tired.
that all. Yeah, he said that all season.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Okay, so that's the left tackle. So he just has got to get off his feet, right? The left guard is Landon Dickerson. He did not have a good year. I don't know what his weight is. He's had a bunch of surgeries. He's had, I think, at least 4 knee surgeries in his career.
Well, he's had at least 4 or 5 different injuries this season alone.
Yeah, Sean. Yeah. So let me, as a former player, when you feel beat up, do you say, I got to decompress for a couple? Like, how do you get your mojo back and how do you get your energy? and feel good.
Well, that's very difficult because most of the time their injuries are worse than players will say. You want to play. You know, how you feel? I'm feeling pretty good. You're not, but you want to play. You know, so you're going to practice.
Really?
If you're hurt a little more than you should.
Wow.
You never want another guy to come in and play behind you, even if you're a great player. And there's no doubt, again, you talk about excuse. I don't think it's an excuse if Lane Johnson or Dickerson or these other guys aren't who the name on the back of their jersey says they are because of injuries. That's a legitimate reason. You know, people say injuries don't matter. Well, take out your 5 best players and tell me that's not an excuse.
Yeah.
It's reality.
Of course.
Right.
You know, it's a legit reason. So there's no question to me that was probably part of it. I mean, we'll never know. But if Lane Johnson healthy out there the whole time? And same thing with him.
Who knows,
Are things
though?
different? We don't know, but there's a 90% chance it would have been different for the better.
And Cam Jurgens as well.
Another one.
Oh,
Another one.
Andrew.
You're talking 3 of the 5 guys right there.
Yeah, Greg. You know, Greg did our show Inside the Tape. The offensive. We were not only going with Sean last week's game, but I want to ask Greg about the season again. I got to be honest, it's totally tape-based information. He had a bad season. He wasn't himself, and having back surgery. We know for a fact that at Nebraska he had lower body issues. The guy's a really good athlete. Sean, a really good football player. But, man, when you're not right physically, and let's not forget, their offseason went longer because they won the Super Bowl. So you know when you're deep in the playoffs, man, your body's beat up.
And, again, a player, unfortunately, because that will sound like an excuse. Why didn't you play better? Well, I'm not 100%. I'm really beat up. You know no one wants to hear that.
No, you can't say it.
Even
You
though
can't say
that's
it.
a
Right.
legitimate reason,
You'd love to say it,
you're
but you
not
can't.
going to say
Right.
that.
Sure,
but let's
sure.
see. We'll never know. Next year, everything could be so much better. And it's like, what was the difference? Well, you never know. 3 or your 5 linemen, all of a sudden, are healthy again.
Yeah.
This defense, Andrew, very pleasantly surprised at how they turned things around. After the Jalen Phillips trade, I know he didn't have a ton of sacks. Pressure rate was good, but he did a good job. They seem to get better after that trade. What's the state of the defense right now?
Well, I mean, his contract's up, so that's going to be key. I think his arrival coincided with J-Wilkes Hunt's breakout. J-Wilkes Hunt was the Eagles' best pass rusher late in the season. I think Jalen Phillips, knowing his age and how he impacts the players around him, would be beneficial to try and find a way to get him under contract. But then you have someone like Drew Makuba, and I saw Drew Makuba during locker cleanout. He fractured his fibula. He's still in a walking boot. It's supposed to come off soon, and he's hoping to be back for spring practices. But that's another young player that I think you can count on next season, adding some athleticism to the back end. And, of course, you have Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean and some of those younger players on the defensive line as well that I think they're in a really good spot.
Well, again, you look at the defense, how good they were. We talked about before, so many games, they kept them in. Again, that Buffalo game was unbelievable, how they kept that offense to only 6 points. Again, I'm always going to look back at Howie. It's just amazing how he's been able to keep getting good players on that defense. You mentioned Dean. He's really a good ball player. They're going to bring him back. I'd like to think they will.
It's tough.
It is.
Because Campbell's got to play.
Yeah, I know, but this guy's a good player.
I hate to walk away from him.
I know.
I made sure that I walked up to him yesterday, shook his hand, thanked him for the time and the professionalism that he showed over the 4 years that I got to cover him. And he said he doesn't want to be anywhere else, so we'll see what happens.
He actually changed agents, so that's
and with
always
the way they can work the cap, this is the most softest cap in the history of the world. In real money, you can pay out $350 million, but the cap says I'm under
100% correct. It's ridiculous.
It really is.
The way that Eagles, they found this, Bryce Johnson, who works in their salary cap department, found this sort of loophole. They have option bonuses in every veteran's contract. So what happens is they do the contract. Second year, it looks like the base salary might be $1 million, but they have to exercise the option bonus. Then the money jumps up. But the early part of the contract is low. Then it starts growing. And now, Sean, with a bunch of free agents, a lot of decisions to make, Andrew, I wonder if they'll get their D linemen all done this year. I know they're going to probably get 1 or 2 of them done, but they have 3 guys who are up for extension. Be interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, injuries are going to be a factor here when you look at Jalen Carter and the shoulder and things like
both.
that.
Yeah,
I think that's something that could come into play. Moro Jomo has been a really good story of development for a 7th-round pick, 6 sacks this season. I think they want to find a way to keep him in-house as well.
All right, everyone, we thank you for listening. This is a Pro Football Report. We will be at Chicken Pizza in Marlton, New Jersey, next week, next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. We thank our special guest, Sean Landetta.
Thanks,
For
Sean.
Thank you, guys.
For Andrew DiCecco, I'm Adam Caplan. We'll see you next week.
You're listening to 1490 WBCB and on your FM dial at 107.3 W297.